superheroes to magical swords wielded by historical or mythical offshoots to the high fantasy isekai worlds, popular action anime are a dime a dozen. But today, however, I'd like to shine a spotlight on some anime that have notable hand-to-hand fights. My 20 favourite titles among them, actually. Hopefully, this will show that once you dig past the magic and fantasy, action anime still has a lot to offer for those who want more of the grounded side of battle anime. I won't be excluding anime that involve magical powers or even put those in the forefront, however, and I welcome those that successfully blend fantasy and down and dirty fighting. Starting out this list of 20 is history's strongest disciple, Kenichi. It can be considered a classic at this point in time, now can't it? History's strongest disciple, Kenichi, wowed anime fans back in the mid-2000s with its plethora of epic battles, along with a light-hearted atmosphere that many fans found welcoming and attractive in its day. Kenichi is an anime that takes a bit to rev up, with a plot that seems simple at first, before delving into a more complex set of threads that gets any anime fan caught up in it. A notable thing about Kenichi, in my opinion, is the comedy. It's one of the pillars of the anime, and much of that can be seen with how it looks and the montages you may have seen on social media. But that doesn't detract from its insane hand-to-hand fights when you get down to it, and that mix is what makes this anime so awesome. It still won't win awards in contests about how complex and introspective anime plots can be, but in what it aims to do, which is to entertain, history's strongest disciple Kenichi does so well. It's a modestly popular anime that's been pretty much forgotten a decade and a half later, but I'd like you to give this a shot and tell me what you think. But hey, have you ever tried searching for an anime series but just couldn't find it on Netflix? Like a lot of you, I'm sure that you've experienced that moment where your soul was just completely crushed and you were so disappointed after finding out that the anime you wanted to watch was region locked and unavailable in your country. Well, those days of anime agony are over thanks to SafeShell VPN and their insane app mode feature. This exclusive technology allows you to connect different apps and streaming services to different VPN server locations simultaneously. That means you can be watching an anime exclusive to Japan on Netflix through SafeShell's Japanese servers, while also streaming shows only available in the US on something like Crunchyroll or Funimation through their American servers. It's like having every anime in the palm of your hand, which means I can finally watch My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer movies that I've been dying to see on Netflix using the Indian server. If you want to take your anime viewing experience to its full potential with zero restrictions, then definitely check out the SafeShell VPN download link I've posted in the description box and pinned comment. Next up we have Tokyo Revengers. Much has been said about Tokyo Revengers. Thanks to how the manga ended up, the momentum has pretty much sputtered out on the series, and I think that's a crying shame, you know, because at its peak, early Tokyo Revengers, basically the parts we got in anime form, is one of the best examples of teenage delinquent anime. In addition to the time travel thing that it's got going to add some spice, it's also got some of the most iconic characters in the genre, and all of its fights hit so hard. Tokyo Revengers, from what I can see, feels like the anime that made high school gangs cool again, the one that set the floor for newer shows like Windbreaker to take the stage and improve on places where the predecessors need work. Tokyo Revengers may have had a turbulent journey overall as a franchise, but it's always going to be a series dear to my heart. Rolling the carpet is Fist of the North Star. What if you wanted anime with hot-blooded action yet retaining that classic adventure feel? I'm feeling some 80s magic, and Hokuto no Ken is the personification of old-school action. The post-apocalyptic tale feels like an antithesis of the typical modern anime for those who aren't too into it, eschewing the isekai settings, fan service and powers in favour of testosterone-filled battles. It's bombastic in every definition of the word, but deep within the adrenaline-filled plot is also an ample amount of drama and times where the story slows down and makes you think. With anime of this kind though, it's not exactly something I can readily recommend to everyone. Not that it's bad or anything like that, but the whole atmosphere and look of Fist of the North Star can be considered an acquired taste. It looks really different from what we're used to now, but as with modern anime, it still aims to provide fans with a great time. It just does so in a different manner. We have a newcomer here, and that's Ninja Kamui, a decent niche anime that some fans have dubbed the perfect present for John Wick fans. A revenge-driven show with a lot of overbearing violence that's just as exhilarating as it sounds, using the power of emotional impact, eye-catching fights, and a pacing that's always in overdrive. Ninja Kamui looks to wow fans looking for high-octane action, a deep or intricate plot be damned. Ninja Kamui is exactly the type of show that probably won't do well if we're going with people who want something more introspective, but like a summer blockbuster, it does excellently if you're the type of person wanting a simple plot. It's sure to electrify you and get you wanting more. Next, we have none other than the boxing king itself, Hajime no Ippo. Ippo gives a polish and more modern animation and writing styles, capturing the hearts of anime fans in the early 2000s with what could be considered the pinnacle of boxing anime. You don't even need to be a fan of boxing to enjoy this anime, which has an amazing plot, characters that exude charisma, and the perfect mix of comedy, romance, and most importantly, action. It's quite the powerful anime when it comes to driving its emotional stakes home, and many an anime fan has been driven to tears and laughs as they followed Ippo's journey and growth. I can't recommend this anime enough, and it's one of the best anime out there, not just in the boxing category, but in the sports genre as a whole. We go back, and the clash of ideals represented by the numerous groups in anime like this have always been great to see, and Windbreaker looks to provide you with all of that and then some. At its core, Windbreaker's story and characters are quite simple to digest and connect with, but that doesn't mean it's anything bad. In fact, it's one of the shows I love the most from this current season, mainly due to the real highlight of the series, its fight scenes. They may be given to us in short spurts, but there's always something to look out for, a highlight in each that will leave you wanting more. If you're up for some teenagers beating the hell out of each other with MMA style, with all the drama and power struggles in the background, Windbreaker may just be the anime you want to follow. We then move on to adventure titles, this time with Hell's Paradise. Hell's Paradise was one of the more anticipated titles back in the spring of 2023. People, including myself, thought it would be the next big thing, a perilous adventure through uncharted lands featuring lovable characters who carry them with an ample dose of charisma and edge. Turns out our predictions were quite a bit off the mark, something I can attribute to MAPPA not meeting the lofty expectations set by bangers like AOT, Jujutsu Kaisen or Chainsaw Man. Still, looking at it in a vacuum, Hell's Paradise is still one excellent anime filled with various types of combat. The characters in the world are interesting, and the action kept me on the edge of my seat at times, even if the presentation wasn't as mind-blowing as the aforementioned titles. Still, it does what it needs to do, and Hell's Paradise remains a good recommendation for someone looking for a modern adventure anime.
やっぱりやりづらいよ、手縄だと。
But we return to good old combat sports up with Gengan Ashura. I had high hopes of Gengan Ashura when it was announced. I was in the mood for some gritty violence and adrenaline in mid-2019, and this is an anime that helped quench that thirst. It's a martial arts anime full of superhumans putting their all in the ring, and the best part is that it doesn't take itself too seriously. It knows what it's going for with the over-the-top characters and fights, and it rolls with it all the way. Gengan Ashura is a really fun watch if you're in for people just beating the hell out of each other in the most ham-fisted way. On the other hand, do take note that Gengan Ashura has some really gratuitous CG, something that's become more and more of a trend around the turn of the century. Still, if you can look past the graphic quality, you'll have an exciting, hot-blooded anime waiting for you. Next, we have a suspiciously similar title, Baki. We just finished with Gengan Ashura, and I think it's fitting to cover the anime that's so similar, you'd be surprised to know they're not from the same people. Most of what makes Gengan Ashura work holds true for Baki. However, Baki dials things up to 11 with how it doesn't take itself seriously, and how balls to the walls it gets with the over-the-top fighting sequences, the feats showcased by its superhuman characters, and the level of violence being depicted on a regular basis. If you find yourself enjoying one of the two combat anime, then you'll definitely love the other. The good news for you is that both series are still going strong for the standards of fighting bloodsport anime. With many sequels and fresh new anime that have just been released or are about to be released, you'll have a lot of material to watch and enjoy. 親子喧嘩ここに終了 We've officially reached the halfway mark, so if you like the show so far, don't go anywhere. We've got loads more anime goodness for you. Meanwhile, do help the channel by hitting that like button, especially now that YouTube is a game of algorithms. It will help the channel do well, and I'd really appreciate it. Dragon Ball series is our next anime franchise series. Talking about Dragon Ball on this list really reminds me of the Naruto segment a while ago. The same things can be said for arguably the most influential anime in the 90s, one which continues to influence and captivate millions of anime fans worldwide. Buried deep within the hype saiyan forms, the gamehamehas, the crazy turns of events and revivals, is at its core a martial arts anime that takes inspiration from ancient literature. Most of the time, it's not the hand-to-hand moments that get captured in those TikToks and highlight videos on YouTube, but I guarantee that Dragon Ball has a litany of epic fights where characters get down and dirty. Watching Dragon Ball from the beginning may be a tall order. Like Naruto, it's also got a notorious reputation for long arcs and such. Still, it pays to at least watch some snippets of one of the most legendary anime in history. Proceed with Megalobox. What's a list of anime featuring hand-to-hand combat without some good old combat sports in the mix? Though the whole technology intertwining with fighters duking it out in an arena has all the 2000 energy in the world, Megalobox is actually something from spring 2018. One of the best shows in that season, headlined by a My Hero Academia season, Steins Gate Zero and Vodokkai. Megalobox visually feels like a homage to the good old 90s shows geared to the Western audience. You know, stuff like Cowboy Bebop, coupled with some of the usual hard-nosed drama you'd get from a boxing anime. Even if you're not someone who's into boxing, there's still a lot to like about Megalobox, mainly how it presents the passion that comes with being in a combat sport, as well as the plenty of fights that will keep you in awe.
自分は今何をしてる